I would like to extend a really warm welcome to everyone here. I see a lot of familiar faces, so although I'm going to introduce Ben, but I'm sure you know more than half of what I'm going to say. But still, I think I want to acknowledge him. So today's title is The Next Frontier for Professional Coaching. And this is actually the first of the many webinars that Coach Masters Academy is going to have for the year 2017. So just be on the lookout for more good things to come. Okay, so whether you are a new aspiring coach or an experienced coach, I'm sure one of the important questions you might have would be what lies ahead and what's new and what's in store for me as a professional coach. Okay, and so tonight we have the opportunity to hear from our speaker, Ben, who is familiar to most of you, but still I'm going to invite him before I'm going to introduce him before I invite him to take the mic. Okay. Ben is distinguished because he's one of only 700 worldwide master certified coach credential. That is the highest coaching accreditation in professional coaching awarded by ICF or International Coach Federation. Ben is an experienced master coach with many more than 15 years of cross-cultural leadership experience. He's able to draw from his understanding of coaching trends and interpret coaching competencies with a unique Asian perspective. Ben's unique contribution in coaching is making good leaders great. With nearly 20 years of experience as a leadership effectiveness and transition coach, Ben has brought benefits of coaching to organizations, helping leaders raise the bar on their performance and managing their success. He has been delivering C-suite coaching services globally for executives in leading corporations. His understanding on the dynamic relationship between the needs of individual contributors and the objectives of organization allows him to deliver high-stake coaching, delivering behavioral change that has direct impact on business performance. Using his deep and evocative style of coaching, he enables leaders to experience powerful shift in their thinking and empowers them to lead from an inside-out approach. He partners with his clients and inspire them deeply to use their innate capacity to excel in what matters most to them and enabling to flourish in their full leadership capacity. He engages them in deep and focused learning conversation that stimulates them to reflect critically and align their personal and work values and hold themselves accountable to their decision. Ben is really passionate about seeing leaders capitalize on their strength while accepting and addressing development needs. Ben has particular expertise in coaching leaders on the following aspects: to improve and develop personal leadership effectiveness and coach team members for performance and transit smoothly to next level of leadership responsibilities. Ben is a thought leader in the field of transforming coaching. Ben is firmly committed to advancing the art, science, and practice of professional coaching. Ben is considered among the most influential thought leader on transformative coaching. He has created his proprietary coaching framework known as ACC, or Awareness, Clarity, and Choice Conversation, that encapsulates the process of reflective learning that seeks to heighten awareness and deepens the learning to enable sustainable change. He is the founder of Coach Masters Academy, a coaching academy with a global presence in more than 18 countries. So Not only does Ben have more than 17 years of experience in the field of people development, he's also cross-culturally experienced, having worked in over 17 countries. An articulate and highly energetic trainer. For those who have known him, you know how true this is. He is able to speak passionately and inspire deeply. He speaks globally in corporations, conferences, and public events, teaching leaders how to create authentic change, and is in constant demand as a leadership speaker and workshop facilitator. So I introduce Ben. So please, Ben, can you mic now? Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. It is a great honor to be here on this platform in this special occasions to talk about something that really matters most to all of us. You are here, I think, for one very good reason, that you are here because you too are passionate about helping another being to move forward in their journey. And that's why we call this webinar the next frontier for professional coaching. And what I intend to do in today's webinar is only 3 points. That is, number one, how to have an understanding or appreciation of how coaching has evolved over the last 2 decades, so that we know where we are standing at this point of time. And that's very important. To move on to the next level, you need to know where you are today. Second, I want to talk about what are the special challenges that is facing our client, that our clients are facing today. Why that is important, so that you as a professional coach are prepared to know how to deal with them to deliver a successful result for them. Okay? And the third one is, so what is there for me right now after I know where we are and what I need to prepare? So what's next for me? So these are the 3 things that I would like to talk about in today's webinar. Let me begin with the first one, talking about how professional coaching has evolved in the last 2 decades. One thing for sure that remains constant in these 20 years of development is that coaching is committed, or coaching has a commitment to achieve results. At the end of the day, what sponsors and clients is going to say about your coaching is what is the result. So any form of coaching, coaching over the last 20 years are designed towards helping clients to achieve result. But we begin to see how that commitment to achieve result has evolved over the last 20 years into 3 different generations. Okay, in the first generation where coaching first started, it had been influenced by sports psychology, and as you know by now, the word coaching was more commonly used in the early days to refer to sports coach. And that is how the word has been therefore eventually been transferred over to the business context. And in that sphere, in that context, coaching is geared towards peak performance, as in how can I get a better return? How can I optimize my input to get a maximum output? So the first generation coaching I would say that it tends to focus more on the task, a task-oriented focus for performance maximizations. That's the first generation. And as the world moves forward with knowledge and technologies, infrastructure builds, things around us begins to evolve. And so similarly, coaching follows that trend and move forward. And that's where we begin to see a new breed of movements, a second breed of movement that starting to emerge into the coaching arena, and that particular pattern is influenced or was impacted basically by the human potential movements. That's where Maslow theories, the humanistic psychology, that's the time where it begins to strive and flourish. It does take time for a particular science to reach to a point where the impact can be felt at the global level. And that's the time, where the focus point is on self-actualization. You know, it's about people development. How can you become the best version of yourself? And in that whole second generations, the focus is gearing towards, okay, we want to maximize our performance, and one of the primary vehicles to achieve that is to inspire motivations to improve. This time is the focus is not on maximize, but is to improve, because by that time much of the infrastructure has already been built in, and we are really talking about how can we take what we have built so far to the next level. So that's where the coaching, the second generation coaching, tends to focus on developing the person from within. Okay, and motivations, inspirations is the is a primary feature for that second generation coaching. And as we usher into the 21st century, and with the advancements of psychology, especially in the areas of cognitive psychology, neuropsychologies, with positive psychology, it opens up a new arena where the coaching, and also at the same time, the world around us experience accelerated change. In the past, it takes quite a long while for us to move from the industrial age, into that informational age. And then from the information age, we move into the technological age. And as we begin to see, as our technology advances, the change that needed to reach a peak level becomes shorter. And with all this happening at the same time, coaching also right on the wagon and evolve now from peak performance to self-actualizations. Coaching has come to a point where it is about human capital management. From human potential movements, we now move on to think about how we can better leverage on these most invaluable resources. Companies, organization understood that it is people that drives performance, and people is the key to move the organization to the next level. As the technologies and infrastructure matures and stabilize, we need people to ride on them to take the organization into the next quantum leap. So it is all about technology. How can we now think, how can we now leverage on these resources called human capital, which is basically people? How can we leverage on their potential and position them in a platform where they can strive? And that's where the whole arena of professional coaching becomes very, very interesting. From coaching people that focus on developing their ability we move on to coaching people to develop a sense of emotional intelligence, where coaches, in the first generation, coaches, focus on coaching their clients to increase their ability. And in the second generation, we begin to see coaches, focuses on increasing the emotional intelligence of their client. Coaches, focus on being appropriate, with the ability to connect, with the ability to create an environment for growth, and also having the skills to help their clients to achieve result, to today where coaches has to help organizations to enable their staff through coaching, not just to get performance maximizations, not just only to inspire them for motivation, but to expand their thinking capacity, not just to create results, but to create sustainability for the organizations. So that is where we are today. And you need to appreciate the shift that is happening. One of the things that I love about iPhone is that you're constantly being reminded to update your apps. you know every now and then, you receive batches of fix to make your apps relevant. And in a similar way, if in order for you to remain at the cutting edge, and in today, in 21st century, it's all about you being at the cutting edge to keep abreast with the current trend. So if you are using the first generation and second generation coaching methodology or mindset, you will realize that very soon, you know, very soon, you will become like Nokia handphone. I mean, take a look at 20 years ago when we use when we talk about mobile. I remember Nokia was a leading brand. The sleek little gold and silver color, Nokia phone. But as we take a look at today, in today mobile user, you hardly find people using Nokia. People is using smartphone. I'm not saying everyone is using smartphone, but you see the vast majority of people is using smartphones. So in the same token, if you want to be a coach with impact, you want to be a coach that truly offers service to take people to the next level, you need to have this paradigm shift, a shift from does coaching work to how coaching works. In the last 2 decades, the focus point has always been questions around does coaching really offers you that platform to get results? Okay, if it does get us results, what is the kind of methodology that you are using to do coaching? That's the kind of questions people had in the last 20 years. Today, as coaching has evolved and become an industry by itself, people no longer ask, does coaching works? People ask how coaching works. It talks about the science of your coaching. And you need to understand that as an industry mature, best practice needs to be governed by science. Science is the empirical truth that you can put your faith in, that it works. And that's that place a high demand on coaches, not just to learn coaching skills, but to ground themselves in fundamental, in empirical, proven scientific research that talks about humans' dynamic. So the deep understandings of human psychology, the deep understanding of the operating environments and how those comes together becomes the key to become an effective, impactful coaches, because your clients is no longer asking does coaching works. They're going to ask what's the science of your coaching. So we move from can coaching produce results to a bigger question, and that bigger question is what kind of results are our clients experiencing? We have passed the time when people are questioning about whether coaching can produce results. They accepted that in today's 21st century, coaching is the tool, coaching is that technology to help them to leverage on humans' capital to get the results. And the bigger questions right now is, if you're going to give me results, what kind of results are you producing? And that's a big question for all coaches. What kind of results are you offering to your clients? And for me personally, and also to, in our CMA, we want to help our clients, our coaches. We want to support our coaches to be able to help their clients to achieve result that is sustainable. Now, sustainability is a big thing today. Why? Because number one, there are dynamics influence and impact on the way things works. Sustainability means the ability to be enduring, the ability to continue despite of the change and the challenge. Sustainability also entails flexibility and adaptability. In order for the result to continue to have the kind of impact, it must have its own self-regulating systems to learn and implement and adjust and then readapt. And that's one of the hallmark of sustainability. So we want clients to experience results, or want our clients to have results that is sustainable. And therefore that led us to an even much bigger questions. And that bigger question is, what are the vital components that is needed in order for you to enable your clients to experience sustainable result? And there are many components, but there is one thing that really challenge us as professional coach. That means, and that is for coaches to raise the bar on how you are engaging your clients through your inquiry. You know, fundamentally, coaching happens in a conversation. Full stop. Period. I mean, yes, you can do something for your client. And those are support structure systems to enable them to reinforce their behavior patterns after the conversation ended. Those are important. But the real work happens not at the support system. The support system is a byproduct of something you do before. And that thing that you do before, it happens in a conversation. How are you going to engage your client in that conversation? Through your inquiry. And that's a big science that coaches need to constantly develop. The questions that you ask has the powerful impact. Ask the right questions, you get the right answer. ask the wrong questions, you get the wrong answer. Simple as that. The art and science of inquiry therefore becomes the hallmark of a powerful coaching engagement. And there's a lot of things going behind the scene in the way you inquire from your clients. And right now, we're going to take a look, okay, on one interesting pieces, and then we're going to see how the way you inquire from your clients in the conversation makes a world of difference in you becoming a professional coach that truly creates impact for your client. The question, what we're going to do now is to just open up. Okay, so we're going to open up this time right now for you to talk. Okay, to share about what do you think, okay, are the special challenges in today's workplace context. Now, I'm going to restrict, of course, I'm not going to restrict this discussion to a workplace context, but for the purpose of this webinar, we want to do that. But I do understand that coaching does apply in a wider context, okay? But for the sake of today's webinar, we're going to put that in the workplace context mainly because that is where the major consumer is. People who can afford coaching are actually coming from the workplace context. So for those who are not in the workplace context, please accept my apology. I have no intention to overrule you in that way or undermine you in that way, but just to serve the bigger need of everyone, we're going to restrict that to what are the special challenges that you think people are facing in today's workplace context. Okay, so you're going to say it, and then we're going to just take down some of these key thoughts. Okay, so I'm going to off the sharing and going to invite all of you to be back on the screen right now. You can turn on the camera so that we can all see each other and put in our thoughts. Okay, we will really appreciate if you can voice it up if that is possible, because it's quite a major challenge to be able to manage the chat box and look at the questions and answer at the same time. So think about it. What are the special, not the major challenge, special challenge that people are facing in the workplace context?
May I go, Ben?
Go
Alina
ahead,
here.
Alina, go ahead.
One of the special challenges that organizations today are facing is leaders are very young. Leaders have grown very fast. They have reached positions of seniority in terms of the responsibilities that they handle, the work that they do, the results that they are expected to have. And age is not really something that is supporting them to be so-called mature. Coaching a leader like this becomes a challenge because this generation is a totally different millennial generation. I think that's one of the special challenges.
Okay, so if I could sum up that in one category, one of the special challenges we face in workplace is young leaders with a millennial mindset. Okay, which therefore creates a clash between the older generation and the younger generations. So it creates a lot of unnecessary conflict. And conflict unresolved results in frustrations that eventually going to kill a thriving working environment. So that's one special challenge that we're facing today in workplace context. Thank you for that. Anyone else?
I'd like to contribute. This is Joan.
Joe, go ahead,
Yeah.
Joe.
Yes, for me, I think it's the constant change in
Yes.
Yeah, so change now is a constant. And I think in the workplace, everybody has to cope with that change. And it's so frequent, the change, restructuring and things like that happen all the time. So Yeah, so it's when you get used to a system and then it changes again. So this is, I think, a constant challenge for
Precisely. The change, the turnover rates results in new leadership coming in. With every new leadership coming in, there's new visions, new priorities, and then with the challenge in the global level where we have to be prudent in terms of resources. We flatten the hierarchy, we double up the responsibility and kind of like, and then there will be always fanciful things coming out that we need to catch on board and then implement it. Things are changing, and that's that's a big thing to work on. If you think about you moving house, wow, think about it. Moving house every 2 years.
yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a big challenge. The changing, the accelerated change, the accelerated consistent change in the working environments. Okay, that is two. Okay, anyone else?
This is Leonard speaking.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that if anybody wants to put effort into providing some form of coaching to leadership, they always think that it's a flood method rather than an irrigation method. So yeah, to me that's one thing that I realized over my 17 years working in the industry. I see you for performance review every 2-3 months, and then in the meantime, it's more of me telling you what to do rather than coaching you in the right direction.
Yeah, yes. It is more. Now, Leonard, would you be able to expand that ideas a little bit so that we can see a wider scope of where you're coming from?
Sure, like maybe give you an example. I've been a leader of 40 plus people, and that alone is a problem on it because it's 40. You have so much time only left for very strategic matters. It's very tactical. So it's more of meeting them and saying, this is how you're performing at work, based upon these KPIs, and then you view them as it is. Even if I take the opportunity to coach them on a personal level about maybe their health or family planning and things like that, it's more of as and when the time requires. And it's usually in a very periodic, like I say, monthly or quarterly method. But I think coaching, in that sense, or leadership training should be more coach-like, where whenever you see somebody, it's more of wanting to unlock the potential of that person. So it's a continuous effort. Every time you see the person, every time you engage with a person or find an opportunity to do so. So I think it's more like an irrigation where you drip, rather than you just flood effect.
True, agrees. And I think that really speaks about the current workplace context where we are so driven for result. And yet at the same time, we really want to connect with people, but our hands are really tight. Because with the increased responsibility and functional roles, and with all the accelerated and consistent change, just keeping your hands tight is already a challenge, let alone having that luxury of investing on one-to-one level to guide the person through. I find that really one of the big challenge. With good intention, I'm sure all organization leaders have that good intention to want to support their staff on the one-to-one level. And unfortunately, in the operating environment, the infrastructure doesn't seem to support that to happen. So thank you, Leonard, for that perspective. So that is number 3. Okay, the massive amount of work and not allowing the space for a one-to-one investment. Now, compared to the earlier days when you're working in the 70s, you don't got such. I mean, Joe would be a very good. I mean, Joe and Julia, they are experts and veterans in the field longer than us, in any ways, who have lived through the era in the 70s, and comparing with working in the 70s and working in today's context. Joe and Julia, would you like to share something? So what's the difference, working in the 70s and working in today's context in the 21st century?
Ben, it's difficult for me to in the workplace back in the 70s. because I actually did not work in a workplace in the 70s because I was in the acting profession.
Oh,
So it's difficult for me to say. But what I am aware of is that as we've talked about, things, it was more of an industrial age, and things were based more on fixing things, and it was a lot. Everything was very much by the manual.
oh,
So I guess we weren't so. As you said, there's more human capital today.
yeah.
But again, from an experience point of view, I wasn't working in an office or in an industry at that time, so I
Sure.
can't be of real help at that
No, Joe, we welcome that perspective too. How about Julia? Do you have, I'm sure you are able to have some contribution around what do you notice? Working in the 70s and working in today's context.
I think these days we are with the data and the speed of technology, very much less human interaction. Quick and you want it now thing. And so it takes, and also there's a lot of global interaction, which is not, even though it's Skype and Zoom and all this, different from face to face. So it takes away connection, the real connection, and it becomes very robotic.
Yes.
It has its advantages, but definitely it's a very different perspective when it comes to leadership, and there's less what do you call this, interaction with global, because it has to be through email and
Good. Well, Julia, we do lose you for time to time because of the connections. I remember my time when I was back in the 19s. Yes, back in the 90s where no problem. I remember those days when we were back. I was in the IT industry at the very early stage where IT boom, where the IT information technology is, and during those time, you still remember that sound. Those days email was real slow, and because we don't have that email facilities, you know what do we do most of the time? We talk. And I learned one very powerful principle that my boss, my immediate director taught me. He told me two things. If you want to succeed, you only need to remember two things. Number one, whoever holds the pen holds the power. Huh? Yeah, whoever writes holds the power, and whoever signs holds the power. So make sure you write powerfully. That is one thing he taught me. Second thing he taught me, you want to get things done? Drink coffee. Talk. Just talk. Just meet a person and just talk and talk and talk. I was just thinking, what the heck do we need to talk? But he says, then, if you want to get things done, when things doesn't work, go sit down with a cup of coffee and talk. If you want the whole team to work together, sit down, have tea, have coffee, talk. In today's context with the email, where you expect everything to be fast, better, cheap, and especially emails. I told you, that's an evil mail, It's not called electronic mail, it's called evil mail. With emails, it creates more tension and conflict than ever before. Trust me, okay? People misinterpret emails. I have people coming to me. We heard stories about people preparing the email for 2 hours before they decided to press on the send button. They read and they structure their thought and they think very carefully how to say, what to say, and and just to send it. It was mental draining. It take out a lot of mental capacity just to do that. Technology, reduce the space between humans' connections. And that is a fact that we need to accept. And that's the special challenge that we are facing today. And you can see all these challenges that we are facing today, none of them is about functionality. None of them is about the work specific related issues. It's all about how I and another human being going to collaborate together in a very dynamic, threatening working environment. How are we going to navigate through this maze together? That's what people are facing today in learning to strive in their working environment. And that's what coaches need to appreciate. Because if we fail to grasp the reality of what people is facing today, then we are falling short of, we are not at the cutting edge of being there to serve them powerfully. So I would like to sum up the two challenges that we are facing today in workplace. What are the two challenges? One of them is that we need to recognize and accept that globalization impacted the way life is today. From now on, nothing which happens on our planet is only a. From now on, nothing which happens on our planet is only a limited local event. Okay, it affects the whole world. We must then reorient it and reorganize our life and actions, our organization and institution along a local and global axis. How is that impact? How is that impacting to the coaching industry? How is that impacting you as a coaches, positioning yourself to be able to deliver effective results for your client? What it means to us as coaches is that the complexity of the world does not invite simple answer. Okay? The complexity of the world does not invite simple answer. The inquiry that you ask needs to go beyond the basic superficial question and answer approach. It is rarely possible right now to offer a simple solution during a coaching conversation. What it means to you as coaches right now is that your inquiry, the way you draw out from your client, the way you ask, elicit response from your clients, needs to focus on a reflection process in relationship to the challenge that they are facing. That's the critical aspect of the conversations. And second, it demands you as a coach to constantly strive for a more collaborative approach. Remember, the workforce that is coming in today are very different from us. They need to be, there's one saying, stretch on the spot where it's itchy. Okay, you don't scratch on the spot that's not itchy. You need to be able to just touch that soft spot. Find a soft spot that you can communicate with these millennial leaders. And the Alibaba founder say something. Organization in moving forward in the next 20 years, if you want to survive and strive, focus on working with your staff that is below 30 years old. I was just thinking, hey, come on, how about those staff that's above 31 years? So this is what he did not say. So what he did not say is, let the dinosaur die. Okay, the dinosaur has come to a point whereby it's just too late for them to evolve. Just let them be where they are, contain them if they want to develop and grow, again, good news. But if they do not want, that is okay. But focus your attention on people who are below 30 years old. That's the way to move forward. And that will require your coaching approach, your inquiry approach, to give that flavor of a collaboration, to co-create a powerful forward action that increase engagements. People want autonomy today than ever before in the last 20 decades. My voice, my thought, my opinion, my perspective, my insight, I want it to be heard and respected. And that's the way to increase workplace engagements. The conversation between the leader and the staff is the key to workplace engagement. Remember, people don't leave organization. People leave their boss. The relationship depends on your conversations. And if we can't work on that conversation itself, we can change the engagement level. So as a coach in today's 21st century, what it means to you is that you need to focus your inquiry on two important elements. That is, number one, it needs to stimulate reflective process, not intellectual process, but reflective process. And it needs to entail that partnership where it is about a we conversation, not a I and you conversations. So that is number one, the globalizations and how that impacts to the coaching industry and how that impact you as a coach. The second big impact the second category that that faces us that as a special challenge in today's workplace context is what I call a hyper complex working environment. A German sociology, Nicholas, he commented this in his study of workplace behavior, which is also one of my specialties in organization leadership, in understanding tensions. And I came across his work, which I pretty like it. He described our working environments as a hyper complex working systems. He says the system tends towards a hyper complexity, towards a multiple of opinions and interpretation about its own complexity. This increased complexity can sometimes lead to stress or a sense of freedom, implying new possibility for actions. So it can go two ways. Before that, let me just unpack a little bit of what he's trying to say here. What Nicholas has observed is that the diversities, that the workplace is moving towards a trend of diversities. We became much more tolerant, and because of the accessibility to more informations, compared to 20, 30 years ago, where information is restricted to a certain pool of people. Right now, information is vastly available, and that creates a working structure whereby there's a lot of diversities. People's opinions, people's thoughts, the way I look at things. And he observed that while we are all together in a global scene, at that global level, there are pockets of individual filling up this big space. And that creates what he called a hyper complex working environment, where each of us has our own way of looking at things. He has his own way of looking at things. They have their own way of looking at things. And we are trying to reconcile and put all these perspectives together. And in the attempt of trying to put everything together, we get lost because everybody has his own and want to insist on his own. And for the millennial people who grew up in the internet age, where they Google one keywords, they enter to one site, they can go to multiple sites. For them, that diversity, that complexity is a joy, it's a sense of freedom. But for those who are above 40, it is a fear because we are no longer in control. Okay, so it can lead us into two ways. One, to a sense of stress. The other one is a sense of freedom. Both has its own boundary. When there's too much freedom, we do not know the boundary. When we are too fixed with the boundary, we can't see the possibility. That's the dilemma we are in today. So he called and termed this phenomenon as a hyper-complex working environment. Well, that describes the current situation. I'm much interested in how is that impacting you as a coach in today coaching industry. What does that demand of you in order to offer an impactful coaching engagement to your clients to achieve result that is sustainable? What is the impact on us? After much reflection and thought, it dawned on to me that coaches today needs to learn not just coaching skills. Coaching skills is the fundamental skills that all coaches needs to go through in order for you to stay at the cutting edge to offer impactful coaching. It demands you to understand the dynamic interactions between the individual and their operating environment. Therefore, it becomes essential for coaches like you and me to have the ability to examine the context and develop the skills to draw out understanding from our clients in order for them to manage the difference in perception. Now, it is the way of looking at things and learning how to manage the way people is looking at things. And second, we need to constantly develop and sharpen our inquiry skills to create a coaching conversations that feels like a dialogue where both the coach and the clients has the equal shared power to co-create meaning so that we can understand how your client is seeing the reality. Now, understand the whole working environment is constantly changing, and therefore, the way we look at our situations remains is not consistent. It's keep on flooding, and that is a lot, much more meaning that is being trapped right now because we don't have the space to express and articulate our thought process. And that's why it's so important to be able to create a coaching conversations that is a dialogue, not a instructional piece. Okay, so these are the two special challenges that people are facing in today's context and the impact to us as coaches. Number one, the globalizations that will require us to focus our inquiry on more reflective process. Our inquiry needs to have the element of collaboration approach. Next is the hyper complex working environment requires us as coaches to have an understanding on the dynamic interaction between the individual and their operating systems. And then right now we're going to move on to the next interesting part. Now we understand this as where we are today in terms of professional coaching and also in terms of where our clients is in regards to the challenge that they're facing. We're going to answer right now the $1 million questions, okay? Because all of us here there are someone who's using the share screen right now. Thank you. If you could stop using the session, as you can see that there are some stretches in the on the panel here. So we're going to move on to the next segment right now. Okay, we have understood where coaching is today and what are the challenges that our clients are facing. And in order for us to prepare ourselves to meet up with the challenge, we need to put ourselves into the shoe of a sponsor right now. With that as a background, a framework. Think about it. If you are the CEO of this company, and you have the budget and resource to engage external coaches. Okay, if you are the sponsor, what do you want your staff to be coached on or to coach for? Okay, let's come back to our discussion here, and let's invite everybody to turn on the camera right now. Okay, so think about this for a moment. If you are the sponsor, if you're going to engage external coach to coach your staff, what do you want your staff to be coached on? We have all been training to be coaches, and sometimes we forgot that in order to be successful in this business, we need to put on our shoes in the sponsor's hat and answer those tough questions so that we know how to prepare ourselves to meet that need. So if you are the sponsor, okay, and you know on average, let's just put on average, okay, 8 coaching engagement sessions for let's say just for for my experience, okay, 8 coaching sessions, working with your staff for 6 months with a 8,000 US budget. Okay, what do you want your staff to be coached on? Let's have a discussion around here. Anybody would like to contribute?
Better communication skills.
Okay, just write down now. Better communication skills. What else? Anybody?
Taking more responsibility and accountability for decisions.
Yes. Okay. More accountability for their own decision. Great. Anyone else?
Being able to develop their staff, their own staff.
Raise up leaders. Okay. Raising up others leaders. What else? You are the sponsors. You have a 10,000 US dollar budget to engage a coach. What would you like your staff to coach for?
Session.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, Trisha here. I was just thinking perhaps something along with their own personal goals and how to
Yeah.
align the company's goals.
Alignment.
Alignment of the personal goal. And
Yes, alignment. Okay, alignment. Okay, alignment. That is one very important one. What else?
To balance their life and work.
Wow. Okay. Life balance. So that's a good one. That's a very human. There's a human touch to that. Certainly wish more of that is happening in workplace. The external coach being engaged to help staff to have a better work-life balance. Okay, that's a good one. Anyone else?
To empower their staff.
To raise up leaders and to empower their staff. Okay, great. What else?
To work effectively while happy.
Good. How to be a slave and then yet at the same time enjoy being a slave. That's the inner joke that I always play around. At the end of the day, you still want a slave, right? You just want the slave to be a happier slave. Okay, good. Okay, anything else?
To be able to manage cross-cultural
Yes, manage the cross-cultural communication. Okay, as we know that the diversity that is coming into the workplace, the ability to communicate and work in a cross-cultural context. Okay, and one more to complete the list.
To get.
I would say time management.
Okay, let's have Christian to do that. Christian, what's your input here?
I would say time management.
To manage their priority, I would define that way, helping them to really make the main thing, and keep the main thing, the main thing. Okay, so that is really at the top priority, especially for leaders moving upwards. They need to learn to unpack their stuff and understand what is the main thing and make the main thing their main thing, and get them to identify what is the main thing. That is a real challenge. Good. Anything else?
How about human governance?
Expand on that a little bit. It's quite abstract.
So instead of just achieving results through others, how do you grow your staff to achieve the results?
Yes. Raise up leaders, empower leaders, grow your staff. Okay, good. Anyone else for the last one before I close?
To know themselves, what are their strengths,
Yes.
challenge, and values.
Good. Yes. A more personal development here. Okay, of understanding oneself. Okay. So as you take a look at all these contributions, if you are the sponsor, looking for external coach to coach your staff, look at the list of things that people have put together in this discussion. You realize only one thing. It's all about soft skills. Full stop. Period. Gone the day where coaching is about hard skills. Well, it has come to a point where those hard skills is being supported through some form of mentoring structure, where a senior will walk through the junior, or through a much more advanced method of training methodology using on-the-job trainings, or some training infrastructures that is using webinars and online platforms and good instruction manuals and pairing up with mentoring systems and blah, blah, blah. So gone are the days where coaching focuses on hard skills development. It's all about soft skills development. Full stop. Coaching today is all on focusing on just one domain, and that domain is what we call soft skills development. And that brings us to the last discussion for tonight. That is, now that we know where we are, what are the challenges, and what our sponsors for coachings is expecting, it therefore allows us as coaches to enter into this battlefield with a better emulations to fight the battle. Okay, we don't want to go into the battle with your arrows and trying to shoot each other. We had to be advanced. Understanding how the battle is being fought, therefore allowing ourselves to prepare to fight a battle that ensures success. So that's why I want to spend a little time here to talk about the new frontier for professional coaching. I like the quotation from Olivia. He says that a man's mind once stretched by a new idea. Well, if I got a chance to talk to him, I would like to revise a little bit. But let's keep his original version first. He says, once a man's mind is stretched by a new idea, it never regains its original dimensions. Well, I think it's not just about new ideas, but once a man's mind is stretched by his own thinking, expanding his thinking capacity, where he can go beyond the rational mind to gain an insight or an understanding or a perspective of looking at how things it is, the way of looking at it will never be the same again. And Albert Einstein has wisely said that we cannot solve our problem with the same thinking we use when we create them. And in moving forward today, coaches face an enormous challenge. And what is that challenge? That at the end of the day, what we give to our clients through our coaching engagement, besides helping them to achieve a result that is sustainable, what we are offering to them in the long haul is to increase their personal leaderships. And what does that mean? Well, of course, it can mean a lot of things here, but in our context, for me, as a transitional coach, working with my clients, what it means to me in terms of increasing their personal leadership is to develop their learning agility. Because developing the learning agility is a key predictor of their future potential. I like the word learning agility, a word that I coined it. It's the ability to learn. And I get that inspiration from Peter Sigmund in his Fifth Discipline, when he talks about the learning organization, a learning culture, an organization that is healthy, that is striving, that is able to innovate, an organization that is able to learn by itself. And learning is a key for all success and for all successful endurance to the next level. Learning is what makes human great. Ability to learn and think is our greatest asset. And therefore, as coaches, it demands and challenges us to create a coaching experience that enlarged their ability to think. Why leaders are expensive? Think about it. Why do organizations spend huge investment to employ people, good leaders? Well, because leaders think. And I have great respect for Singapore government in the sense that they invest on great leaders who can think. Because a thinking person has the capacity to widen the boundaries and see what is possible, adjust, navigate, adapt. And to do that, it requires us as coaches to understand one thing, that intellectual exercise are reserved and meant for internal business. It's meant for their own internal discussion. Okay, because as you can see, all the things that our sponsors expect coaches to deliver, none of them are technical in terms of functionality of their work, operational in terms of what they need to deliver. All of that they expected is a soft skill development. To develop a soft skill, you know, it needs a very different kind of thinking. The inquiry that you ask of your clients has to go beyond the irrational mind to a point where they can gain insight. Now, it brings me to a very interesting thought. A couple of weeks ago when I was reflecting about this topic, is that we need to understand that coaching at the highest form is a spiritual journey. And I want to be very careful when I use the word spiritual journey, in a sense that I does not refer to it in terms of a religious in a religious context. When I say it is a spiritual journey, I'm talking about a point in time where you experience the aha moment. A point in time where suddenly there was a light bulb that opens up for you. In a moment in time where suddenly you begin to see things from a very different perspective and say, oh yeah, why is it I never see that before? Oh gosh, that's how things has been connected. That is what I meant by the deep internal connections. And for a lack of a better word, I just use a very generic, label called a spiritual journey. Coaching that truly offers an impact for the clients is basically a reflective process where there is a deep connections within, where there is the own personal calibration of an alignment within, of what is my true north, what is the value, and what really matters. And that is how I'm seeing things. And that's why I'm behaving this way, or that is why I'm reacting this way when things is happening this way, because these are my values and this has been compromised, and be able to see that in a very clear, unbiased way and express it and state in a very clear and concise manner that this is what matters most to me, and that is how things is appearing before me, so that I don't put myself in a position of being reactive, but I'm in a position of receptivity to say that this is how things is happening, and in the current moment, this is how I'm perceiving my reality. Once I'm able to gain that insight, I became much more choiceful in deciding how I'm going to navigate in this complex working environment. So this whole process is what I call that as a spiritual journey. Now we had coaches had sometimes struggles because we tend to dichotomize intellectual and spiritual. Now, with my own years of studies, I began to understand that the dichotomy happens because this is how the Western world sees the relationship between the two. But in this part of the world, in Asia, there is no dichotomy between the physical and the spiritual, because we live in a world where both of them coexist together. That is how we see our personal life. The physical world and the spiritual world is all in one. We embraces them as one complete set. But interestingly, when we enter into a workplace context where it draws its influence from the Western perspective, that's where we split our mind between intellectual and spiritual. And if we want to beat the systems and win the battle, having understood where coaching has evolved so far in the last 20 decades, these are the challenge that we are facing into the workplace context. These are the sponsors' expectation of coaching, and recognizing that the ability to think is the key for us to develop leaders who can lead the organization forward. Then what remains for us is to be able to create a coaching conversations that is the embodiment of both the mind and the soul. And that's where CMA is proud to be able to stand up and offer something to this coaching industry. With our transformative coaching approach, we go beyond skills and knowledge into training our coaches to acquire the mastery of a coaching competency. There's a world of difference between skill, knowledge, and competency. Because in order to deliver what we have just said earlier on, a spiritual journey that merges the mind and the soul, it's not just about having the skills and the knowledge. It's about a formative process of developing a competency, whereby you learn to develop your own presence of you understanding how are you talking to yourself at the back of your mind. And trust me, not all of us are aware of our own voices talking to ourselves. We ask ourselves questions, and sometimes we don't even know those are the questions that we're asking about ourselves. But the moment that we get a very clear sense of what we are thinking and how we are thinking, and develop the ability to listen beyond what people is expressing, and able to ask in a way that is evocative, that causes a stimulate reflective learning. Those are competencies that needs to be nurtured. And CMA is proud to able to create a program that focuses on nurturing the competency for our coaches, so that we can fulfill this noble calling of inspiring positive change through the mastery of coaching. At the end of the day, you are in this business because you are passionate about helping another person to experience positive change. And right now, what remains of you is to master the skills. And these skills is both a science and the art. So our program is designed to provide a quality layers of learning process where our coaches go through a formative process where the core competencies of coaching are fought and refined. And let me just take a 1 minute of commercial break to let you know that we have upcoming program that is running, during this month onwards after we celebrate Chinese New Year. We are all in full swing to go out to fulfill our mandate and accomplish our mission. So these are the dates that is upcoming. CMA is present in 18 countries, and you can see from February to July, we are offering these programs, in these different cities. So go onto the website, check it out, contact us, reach out to us, let us be of service to you and walk you through how you can be in this exciting journey to inspire positive change through the mastery of coaching. So with that in mind right now, I'm going to end my presentation, and I'm going to open up for a time of Q&A whereby you can ask any one of us here. There are panels of coaches, to any questions in regards to what we have been talking so far about the next frontier for professional coaching. Okay, for those who who has other appointments going on, you are free to leave the webinar. But for those who wish to continue on to have a dialogue session to deepen your learning, we are here to serve you and support you. Okay, so let's come back to the camera and see what are some of the questions that you had in mind, or things that you would like to provoke further thoughts and thinking. Oh, Joe, that's a coincidence. Learning agility. Okay, you've got that. Okay. Oh, cool, cool. What a great thought together. Learning agility. Great. Whew.
Then I have a question. It's
Who's-
Linda.
Linda, go ahead, Linda. Would you be able to turn on your camera?
Yes, sure. In one conversation, actually, that I had about coaching, I mean, and based on all the different books that I read and the different information that I've received from another coaching institute, they keep saying there's no coaching is not yet a science. And but when I heard you say best practice needs to be it's about coaching, science of coaching, how coaching works, and when you were talking about the paradigm shift from that's coaching work methodology of doing, we have shifted to the science of coaching. So is it a science of coaching on the is all the coaches, all the Institute of Coaching and ICF agree on that paradigm that we have moved to a science of coaching? Are there now studies or studies that are on the process to develop coaching as a science with references as a science? And would that become something that will validate all these theories on coaching that I keep reading, and all the different with all these different authors and all this different perspective of coaching?
Wow, Linda, there's a lot of kind of like stuff that's going on here. So with all that readings that is happening at the back of your mind, what are you making sense of in terms of the development of coaching at this point of time?
I can see that it's being there's a development because it is moving with this vague of changes in our society and in the world, because the world is becoming very small. But for ICF, is it a project? Is there anything that we could talk about as a science of coaching in the near future? We as coaches, just to reaffirm that we are part of something that is validated by I mean, people like, I don't know, you or the master coaches that have already thought about the problem, about the evolution of coaching until today.
I think you asked a question, and that question is yes, it is happening now. And that has been looked at a global perspective, not from if we look at from a global perspective at seeing what is happening, at a global level, you can see a few things that is happening. More research portal has been created at ICF level. If you take a look at all the ICF major world conference, you will able to identify that we no longer talk about methodology. We are talking about the science that validates a certain methodology. We talks about, recently they talk about conversation intelligence. Before that, they talk about the science of mindfulness. Before that, it talks about neuroscience approach. And you can see it's all about science, validating the way of doing things. And as we begin to deepen our science, then our practice becomes a solid foundation. It's no longer based on just some good best practice or drawn from some good experience. Therefore, I'm just repeating that and transfer that. Now, those are the days in the early days when sports psychology arena is, where we are just figuring out things that it works and let's transfer and duplicate that. But right now, we are not talking about duplicatability. We're talking about grounding it with deep understandings and what are the basis of the science. What is the basis of your science in validating your way of doing coaching so that you can be intentional? And if you ask any trainer, they will tell you the definition of a skills is that you are intentional in doing what the context demand for. And to be intentional requires many things. One of those things is the science behind. And if we lack of the science of why we are doing certain things, we're just basically playing on luck. It works, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. See my point? So we are at that verge right now. So in moving forward as coaches in training, coaches moving towards becoming a professional coach, the bigger question is how does coaching work for you? What's your understanding behind the way you're asking inquiry? So when we ask an inquiry, there must be some games that we're playing at the back of it, some rules and principles, things that you're trying to create, things that you're in that you are creating it so that it happens. You know what I mean? So there must be some science behind. It's not just asking questions just because I think that is a good question to ask. Or this is the only question I've learned in my training. So I'm just asking them because it was taught that I need to ask like this. You know what I mean? So there must be the understanding. Why are you asking that questions? What is that question serving? What do you hope to get from that questions in the coaching engagement? And what kind of dialogue are you creating with those kind of series of inquiry? Those are the things that we're talking about today. Make sense? How about Julia?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. How about Julia and Alina and the rest of the panel? Is there anything you'd like to add on?
Yeah, Ben, I have a question if I may ask.
Go ahead, Vijay.
Ben, so thanks a lot, first of all, for the very informative insight on the coaching world. I had one question is when you spoke about the first generation and the second and the third generation of the way coaching has transformed. My question is that today we are in the human capital management generation of coaching. Does it mean that the objectives of the first and the second generation are covered in the third generation, or the scenario or the requirement has changed? I mean, I'll reframe my question. So in the sports psychology, we were talking of peak performance. In the second generation, we were talking of self-actualization, and now we are talking of expanding the thinking capability. So while we're expanding the thinking capability, I'm sure we are also addressing the peak performance and the self-actualization. So that's what I wanted to clarify.
They are a cumulative process. When we say they're a cumulative process, it means they're building onto one another. Just like our kids who are born in today's context, they bypass our time of us struggling with the dial-in internet connection. They go straight and jump in to use the internet. So does it mean that the old whatever that is laid in the past is no longer relevant today? No, they're just building upon what has been laid, and they're accelerating. So if you are coaches, you are coming into training to become a professional coach today. What the good news is, yes, you had to deliver peak performance. You had to be able to deliver motivation and inspire motivation. And if you want to be outstanding coaches, you need to, on top of that, expand your thinking capacity. So the questions that will be more powerful is if is to be answered in the context of a coach. Are you using a 486 Pentium computer today, or are you using a Mac computer? So sorry, I'm using Mac. Okay, so are you using a Mac computer today? I mean, for some of us, we're still using typewriters. You know what I mean? So the point is, what are you using today in your professional role as a coach? So if your tools are focusing on helping your clients to get peak performance, then it's going to be a mismatch, because sponsors are not asking just for peak performance, they are asking for something more above peak performance. That means having the soft skills to get peak performance. But if you can only deliver peak performance, then they are not going to consider you, because you are going to upset their client, because clients wanted soft skills, and what you can offer them through your inquiry is to get them focused on what can you do to get better result. Well, if I know the answer, why would I want you to be my coach? See the point?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I think that clarifies quite a bit. I was just wanting a little debrief on that. So
Yeah.
thanks a lot.
Thank you for that question. Is there anyone else who would like to ask any questions to any of our panels of coaches here? We have lots of collective wisdoms that we can squeeze upon from the diverse global platform. Okay, anyone?
Hi, Ben, Cindy here.
Who's that? Sorry. We didn't hear.
This is Cindy.
Simbi, go ahead, Simbi.
Hey, Ben, just curious, and would like to just ask you to probably share 2 key challenges that you have in your career life as a coach, and how did you deal with that?
Wow, that's a question that I'm not sure how it's related to the topic that I'm going to offer. Okay, I would say that at this point in time, personally, okay, I would just say in my personal context. Now, getting business is a challenge, but it's not a real challenge to me at this point of time. So there are challenges that I'm facing, but if you're going to ask me what are the 2 major challenges, I would say that more on a personal level. One challenge is finding the time to deepen my own understandings and advance my own science of what the human psychology is all about. That is one thing that I'm really struggling right now, to find the time to do my own research. That is just my personal preference. I know my strength is academic, with the with the intention of putting academic into some practice. So I'm struggling really finding the time to deepen my own understanding. That is number one. And number two, challenges that I'm facing right now is to write my book. Okay, it's one thing to do your own understanding, but it's another thing to be able to transfer that knowledge across at a global level, where your knowledge can have that global impact, to enlarge your influence power. So that's where the two main challenge that is on the back of my mind at this moment. So understood that there is also other challenges that I'm facing, but those challenges, are things that you need to manage. And to me, those challenges are challenge, but they are not really a challenge. Hope that makes sense.
Well, thank you. I think that makes sense. Yeah, it is very individual, basically.
Yeah, I do face challenging coaching clients, trust me on that, but that is not a challenge to me at this moment, in where am I right now at this moment of my time.
All right. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for sharing that.
why don't we change the questions to some of our panel of coaches, and ask them what are the challenges they are facing as a professional?
Yeah, that would be great.
Who would you like to talk to? There are names there that you can pick. They're all from different countries.
Maybe let's hear from Jo if she would like to share some.
Yes, we'd like to hear Jo from New Zealand. Jo, you're on mute.
Hi. I think the challenges that I face and that I find that students face is how to get clients and how the business end of coaching in terms of marketing and what is the best way to go about getting clients. And I think that is probably, looking, because we do have our own, we do CMA here in New Zealand. That would be the challenge for the students in what comes next.
Yes, building their business platform is one of the greatest. The challenge. Yeah, that's good. How about Julia and Byung-Soon and Nok? What might be the challenges that you're facing right now?
I think for Malaysia, the main challenge is not dissimilar to New Zealand and many areas, and because in Malaysia, coaching is still fairly new in terms of comparing to even Singapore or worldwide. And there are many aspiring coaches who wants to join this community. And one of the questions we face is yes, how do I develop or start my own business in this and excel in it? So because the industry here is pretty at its infancy stage, although growing very fast, so it is still the main challenge, I would say. Yeah, it's not dissimilar. So that's one question that we are constantly faced with.
Yeah, thank you, Julia, for that. How about Byung-Soon?
Yeah, in here in Thailand, just the two things that Joe and Julia mentioned is all the same in here. But one thing that is challenge here is that the coaching looks very, very, very good, and a lot of people would like to develop themselves to be a coach, and somehow there are a lot of coaches that is not get themselves into the right place to learn how to be a how to be a coach, or even do not deeply understand what is the difference between coaching, consulting, teaching, or something like that. So from here, from my point of view, it's just that I wish that we could help all the coaches in this market to be a real coach. Then they can help a lot of people in terms of the coaching process, uh, the the standardized, I don't know how to use the word, for example, like the core competency of ICF, which is the great process of moving the people forward, and it works so well. Get them how to together and learn and share and develop themselves to be a real professional coach. This is one of the big challenge here.
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, great. Hope that's puts into perspective. Is anyone else want to contribute or have another questions in your mind that you'd like to raise for discussion?
Can I just add to Pian Sukim what he was saying? Something that I have noticed in a number of the recordings for that the students give in their final recording, and the students have used each other as client and coach, is the feeling of not having the confidence to move forward. And I think if we can encourage to keep going to the coaching gym and using each other's as the students to practice with each other, that will only build their confidence.
Agreed. And I'm a strong advocate, and I put in my voice to say that we should not use the word coaching certifications program. We should use coaching education. If this is going to be an industry that is going to make an impact, because trust me, 70 hours, 75 hours, 60 hours, even 125 hours of coach training is nothing. It is nothing to prepare one to be a professional coach, to deliver impactful coaching, results for your clients.
Yes.
We need to embark on a continuous development of your own personal journey, just like a nursing mother. The health, the health of your baby depends on the nutrients that you take in as a mother. If the day the coach stops developing your skills, your knowledge, your competency, that's the day where you fail to contribute to the society, because your skills, your ability to make a difference come from your own personal growth. And trust me, coaching training is just a springboard to start the whole journey. But the journey does not end at the end of the certification. It continues on with you, developing your own understanding of what the coaching process is about. That's why we are moving from does coaching works to how does coaching works. That's where every coaches are being challenged to continuously develop yourself. And CMA created platform for such. We understood that the 75 hours training is so much we can offer, and therefore we embark on the post-training support to continue to create that ongoing learning journey to stimulate you towards a masterful journey. So we should call coaching education, where coaches need to go through at least minimum 2 years. There's so much to learn now. Human dynamics, human psychology, transpersonal psychology, how the brain works, how the brain thinks. There's so much to learn to truly able to, create the process. Well, business is business. Go ahead, Teresa.
Yeah, you mentioned, it's good you mentioned business is business. I think we all started off with this passion, and and just like how the big companies, will they sponsor, will they not? It still comes down to the bottom line, which is dollar and cents. So
Yes.
as passionate as coaches want to be, one is, I think there's a lot of nature versus a nurture. Yes, we can
Yes.
nurture it,
Yes,
but the
you're right.
nurture part have to come to me. I think it plays a big part. I
Yes,
mean,
agreed.
yesterday we were listening to one of our conversations, and the coach asked a lot of right questions.
Yes.
However, there was no connection at all. It was like
Yeah.
very distant. And
Yes.
that got me thinking too. It's like, wow, like, yes, we can continue to gather, like, say, 500 hours. A lot of my peers are already talking about coaching each other. To me, getting the hours is one thing. However, just really wanting, see, my part is I want to do so much for so many people, but there's only
Yeah.
one of me. And
Yes.
every individual that I spend an hour with,
Yes.
how many people can I really, I have this big plan that, after I want
Yes.
to coach, I want to touch so many lives.
Yes.
However, that's the difficult part for me.
Uh-huh.
And everybody's telling me the money is with the executive coaching, the money is there, the money is there. and I really want to connect more with the personal people, the people.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's the dilemma as a student right now.
Uh-huh.
And so it's something that I do ask myself. But however, because of my personal interest,
Uh-huh.
so it's still driving. However, it might get to a point where it just boils down to, so what are you making again as a coach?
Good.
So
Teresa, my response to you is twofold. First of all, can you share with me what is your expertise before you join coaching? What would you say that you are expert in? If I remember, you are the real estate expert here, right?
No, I only did real estate for 3 years, but I've been
Okay.
doing pro bono counseling for more than 10 years.
Good.
And the skills are really coming.
And how did you arrive at this being a counselor?
Oh, just through experiences. A lot of bad lemons thrown at me, and I always manage to make them into lemonades.
Yes.
So I think it's
You say how many years? You say how many years?
Oh, more than 10 years, like 10, 15
Okay.
years at least. Yeah.
And you just started your coaching journey in how many years?
Oh no, just a few months. No, I think there's always that cross between counseling and coaching.
Precisely. It's just giving your
Yeah.
time. Just give your time in terms of competency. Remember, we are not developing skills and knowledge. Yes, we are developing skills and knowledge, but those requires shorter time to learn. What really takes longer time to build, which we are emphasizing in the supervised practical coaching, is the competency level. And competency level, we can only show you how that competency needs to feel like, so that you know, because you can't create if you don't know how that feels like. So once you're able to lock in to say that, okay, this is how it feels like and I need to gear towards that, then what it takes is just time for you to nurture that competency. And trust me, if you can invest 10 years to arrive at where you are today as a counselor and be so proud to call yourself a counselor that makes an impact, the same thing will happen to you as a coach. And what you can expect yourself is not to beat yourself to death that you can't get it right, because you will never get it right. The point is, but what the better question is, what am I appreciating here about the process? That will then be translated into how that competency needs to be feel like and taste like. And then with right effort of just listening and following the structure that we created, your competency, trust me, will grow over the years. That is one side to that. The second side, if you want to go to America, you can't go there by bicycle. You have to take a plane. Okay. So if you want to increase your level of impact, you had to change the mode of your vehicles. That's why we invite you to join us as a faculty staff, so that your influence multiply by you investing your time to grow other coaches who will then share your DNA and continue your legacy to make that influence. That
Yeah,
is
right
another
now what
big
I do is for people that I help, I just ask them to pay it forward. I say, if you have benefited from me helping you and you've
precisely.
experienced this positivity, the positive psychology and stuff, and pay it forward. So that's my little bit of expending a little bit of more of my time.
Change
Spend
it,
1 hour.
change it. Change
I
from a
hope that person,
helicopter to an aeroplane. If the aeroplane
yeah.
doesn't serve you, change it into a sonic
Yeah,
plane.
I take it as a skill set. I mean, one of the skill set that is part of the big toolbox,
Precisely.
and it has been helpful, definitely. However, just the dollar and cents part, that will take time. And I always remind myself, if the passion is there, the money will follow.
Trust me, it will follow.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just about marketing. It's all marketing skills. And trust me, marketing skills can be learned and can be implemented and it can be executed. Trust me, today, just from an email with our marketing strategy, we get a client in UAE who wanted us to do a in-house training for their 60 participants, to certify 16 of their participants to become a coach. It's all just marketing skills. It can be done. It's just a matter of learning the skill to market yourself and position. So that's a hope. That is a good news. Okay. And please log in to join us in one of our upcoming post-training support in later part of this year. That's in May and June, where Ehab, from the program director of Middle East, is going to share with you, and also Julia and Foreign is going to share with you how are you going to build your business, coaching business, and how are you going to position your own branding. Okay, so these are up and coming post-training support that will help you to better market yourself and position yourself. Okay, it's always our desire to see our coaches' success. Okay, the success of your success is our success. If our coaches cannot survive as coaches, then we have failed miserably as an academic. No point to equip you with the skills and throw you the deep oceans and to be eaten up by the sharks.
To just have a whole academy full of passionate coaches
Yes.
that's hungry.
Chicken. We call that chicken without the head. It just plucking, and then imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, we are aware of that, and we are putting some something in place to support you guys, in terms of branding, marketing, and building business. Is there anything else about what we have covered in today's webinar that you would like to have a conversation around? The next frontier for professional coaching. Okay, if not, then we just do a quick checkout to see what are you taking away from today post-training support this webinar. Who would like to start first? What is one thing that you have taken away from today learning? Anyone would like to just start the ball
Hi,
rolling?
Ben. There was something that you said which particularly resonated with me, and that was coaching as a way of helping people to be able to articulate what matters most to them. I
Precisely.
think that's something that will resonate with my clients.
Yes, and it's my deep belief that a personal leadership comes from a place where people can operate based on their principles and on their values, so that they will not allow the external circumstances, which is constantly changing, to influence their way of making decisions. That is a way of creating some stability in their own leadership style, where we understand what is my value and what is my principles. The alignment to one true north, and allowing that alignment to then, allow them to position with their company corporate vision, and have the courage and boldness to speak up when the alignment is being compromised, and challenge, politely but yet firmly, when things needs to be put into perspective. I think that is what a true leader is all about. Okay, thank you, Susan, for that. Okay, and who else would like to share what is it that you take away from today's learning?
Well, now clear.
Now, go ahead now.
For me, transformative coaching is embodiment of mind and soul. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes, and it's my firm belief that the Western perspective has dichotomized, the intellectual and the spiritual, and then it brings it over to the way we are working right now, that everything has to be intellectual component. And I think that misses out a whole big piece of what human being is capable of, because we are not a dichotomized entity. We are holistic in the aspect that in order for us to operate at our fullest capacity, the mind and the souls needs to be in congruence. And when they are compartmentalized, then our full potential is really limited. And a lot of things sometimes requires to transcend our rational mind, to see things beyond what the physical things is, where we can get behind and understand where that lens is coming from. Where is that lens coming from? And that requires a different way of thinking. You can't rationalize it. You can't have an intellectual exercise over it. You need to reflect. You need to contemplate. And that's where the whole missing piece, that's where professional coaching really stands right now, in allowing people to be able to engage in a much more deeper and reflectiveness process of just letting the whole particle settle down and not react, and see things from a much more elevated perspective and make sense of where the ground is and make decision, rather than the bomb is coming, let's run. Run where? Just run. Thank you now for that. Okay. Anyone
Tricia
else?
here.
Hi, Ben.
Tricia here.
Teresa, let
Yeah.
Teresa go ahead. Teresa, go
Okay, yeah.
first.
So it's I guess it's just initially I always thought that executive coaching is out of my league because I'm not so much in the corporate world. But then I get an understanding that it's not so much about the hardware, it's about the hardware, which is
Yes.
the area that I'm quite good at. So it's about
Precisely.
coaching with compassion. I think it's really
Precisely.
getting that that genuine desire to connect and help your client connect with themselves and thus with the bigger picture, which is their company.
Oh, beautiful. Coaching with compassion. Make that as your niche then. Make that as a niche. Develop around, you got a raw material there. Develop, your niche around that. Build it up.
Can I market it?
Of course, exactly. Just make it
But the sponsor will put me under the non-profit organization pricing.
whatever that will work for you, but at least you got your own voice there. That is that is a key.
Yeah,
how,
I
how
think
you
working with the hardware of the employees will be
yes. Work around something that, my coaching goes beyond the hardware to the hardware, where you do with some compassionate things and try to blend it into your own vision statement, and that's how people see you. Find your own brand. It's your voice. Thank you for that. And how about David? David, you're saying something.
Yeah, hi Ben. It took me almost the whole session to finally come up with this question I was having in my heart. Actually, you mentioned about the reflection process, the reflective process just now, I think just a couple of minutes back. And my question is, how well is the corporate world receiving or accepting this reflective process in the transformation process of their people?
Good. To answer that question, it is the play of the words that your clients is hoping to hear. Well, reflective learning is a word that is from the educational arena. In the corporate world, you can talk about mindfulness, being present, or a presence leadership, or being present. But we're all talking about the same thing. Okay, we're all talking about the same thing, but just finding a language.
Yeah, but essentially they are talking about connecting the mind and the heart, or the
Precisely.
soul.
Yes.
The thing is, how well is the corporate world accepting this? I mean, that instead of listening to the mind, they are now have to think about listening to the heart. So
that is where the marketing comes in. Okay, if you market yourself by selling a result that says that I will help you to optimize your performance, then you're not getting anywhere, because they all understand this is not what they want to get. So it is a way of how you is going to position and market. It also requires you a little bit of what we call a preparation of advocating or to prepare your sponsor or your clients about the product. It's just selling anything. Before you sell anything, you create the need. And to create the need, you help them to understand where they are today. And therefore, the supply becomes necessary and important. See my point? So, but looking from a third person perspective, we all understand if you are a sponsor, you don't want performance optimization because you know your staff have the knowledge and skill to do that. Especially if you are talking about coaching your directors and those people who can afford. You know that. You also know they are not about motivation. Okay. You know that it is all about the soft skill. You know that as a sponsor. So it is you right now finding your own expressions and with some good sense of understanding how the marketing works. Create your own brand and just deliver that. But trust me, at the end of the day, coaching leaders at the top level is all about a shift in perspective.
Okay.
Okay, there are coaching that requires people to learn how to improve the way of doing things. There are coaching that involve motivating the staff, but those are not the major buyer or consumer for coaching today. Okay, the more expensive investment on coaching for today are at the senior leaders level, and that's where professional coach, can sit on that wagon to develop your ability. If you can coach senior leaders, certainly you coaching anything below senior is just a piece of cake to you.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks.
Got it? So that's why we in our CMA we always say we aim for the highest possible standard. So that if you're going to fall anything short, you are still within that range.
I just thought I'll share this short thing. When I was in real estate, I had this big tycoon from India. Really, he said he's the number 2 in India, South India. Anyway, so the moral story here, he kept that distance, and only when we started talking about family, and he just really just opened up, and we just started sharing. He started smiling and laughing, and it was an interesting shift for me because as a salesperson, he kept his very far distance, and when he came to the personal level, he was a totally different person, very different. And so when I told that to other real estate agents, they were like, wow, how can you talk about family with this kind of people, and I said, it never fails to work. I've talked to CEOs, I've talked to all sorts of high level, so-called the top management people, about their family. Even my MPs and stuff, last time we just sat and then they were wondering, what are you guys laughing about? I said, oh, we're just talking about family. So the ultimate thing is people still want to talk about something that's really deep
Makes
and you
sense
can
to them.
connect with
Yes.
them.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it. Things like
And they're
that.
even willing to share you their values, and they just want to be treated as a normal person and not somebody who's so high up and like, because there's so many bootlickers and stuff like that, and they're so like numb from models. And I find that they really enjoy a genuine talk about day-to-day stuff.
Precisely. So my encouragement to you, David, follows Teresa's chain of thought. As long as your marketing is authentic, as long as your marketing comes from a point of your passion, as long as your marketing comes from the point of your client perspective, then that is a good marketing strategy. It's not about selling something, it's making yourself available.
Okay, I got it.
You got it?
I'm going to have to explore a lot more on this area.
Don't worry, it's going to be a journey. It's going to be a journey.
Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome. Anyone else who would like to, just 1 or 2 more persons to share what's your takeaway from today's learning? 5? Come on, say something. Okay, now I'm going to invite Haru or somebody else that we have not heard to just say something, to just share one thing that you have taken away?
Okay, well.
Hey, Haru, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Yes, simple words. Thanks for the learning. As a coach, help client to transform, which is more than just perform.
Yes, beautiful. I think, can I quote that? More than performs to transform. That's a very good catchphrase. And it's all about form. From performance to transform.
Yeah, performance to transformation, isn't it? That's why we
Performance
transformative.
to transformance. Transformers. Well, good. We'll play around with the words along there. Okay.
Yeah.
So if there's no other people who like to contribute, let me just thank everybody, since it's recorded, for your time joining us for this post-training support as the start of this season. The next one, up and coming one, is on the 13th of February. Please watch out. On the 13th of February, we are running one at 3 p.m. Singapore time. That will be led by Nok, Byung-Soo, and Sophie. They're going to talk about the role of EQ in building awareness. So that is at 3 p.m. Singapore time on 13th of February. And we're going to have another one on the 28th of February, which is at 8:30 p.m. in Singapore time. That's where Hong Ming, the program director for Singapore, is going to talk about, understanding triple loops and its impact in the coaching process. So with that in mind, thank you for staying with us. So see you in the next session. Thank you.